on GoSuffolkRams.com. From Boston, Massachusetts, welcome to Suffolk Sounds, the official show for Suffolk University Athletics. Hello and welcome to Suffolk Sounds. My name is Cam Brennan. You can follow me on Twitter at Cam_Brennan1. That's CAM_BRENNAN and the number 1. And that's how you can find me and interact with me on social media. As for today's show, we have Suffolk head women's volleyball coach Scott Blanchard. I sit down with Coach Blanchard in an exclusive one-on-one interview, and that's what you can expect from today's episode. We give you fan access that you never thought you'd be able to get to. We'll have conversations with the people that matter to you. We'll get the perspectives from those that have close ties to the Suffolk Athletic Department, and that's what you're going to get here. Now, that being said, let's get back to Coach Blanchard. Blanchard enters his third season as the head coach for the women's volleyball program. This past season, Blanchard helped lead the team to arguably the program's best ever season. Before coming to the Blue and Gold, Blanchard spent time at Brown University as an assistant while having over 20 years of volleyball coaching experience. Today, we're going to talk about the reactions to last season, coaching at different levels of volleyball, and what it rates the Rams in the CCC. This interview starts now. Coach Blanchard, thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you having me on.
No problem, Cam. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
No, thank you. And I wanted to ask because obviously in March we were kind of just everyone was sent home and everyone just said, hey, we got to ride this out and whatnot. But I wanted to ask, what were some of your quarantine activities? What was your daily routine per se with quarantine?
Well, obviously I would, continue to stay with my recruiting and stay on my emails. And, Sarah and I have been doing a lot of recruiting, and the finding out about Zoom calls has been a tremendous help. So we've been doing a lot of that. But one of the other things that I've been doing a lot of just to keep me busy and stuff like that, I've been doing a lot of woodworking. I make a lot of, rustic furniture for our house, for friends and stuff like that. So, and fortunately still have all 10. So there were no mistakes with the saws. So
that's always a good thing. That's always a good thing to hear. No accidents happen involving woodworking. Now, before we get into last season and the great season that it was, I wanted to get a baseline for you and for people at home. I wanted you to just talk about your path to Suffolk, whether it be you've had tons of experience with coaching volleyball and how you got to the Blue and Gold and how you got to Boston in 617.
Okay. I got into volleyball my senior year of high school. I was a varsity tennis player in high school and had to have ankle surgery to be able to play my senior year. A bunch of my friends were on the volleyball team, and they talked me into being a volleyball manager so I could come out and get my foot back in shape for spring tennis. I did that, and I didn't really think anything of it. I really enjoyed it. When I graduated, a friend of mine was the student trainer over at the local university. I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, so he was the student trainer over at the University of Michigan at Dearborn. Introduced me to the volleyball coach. I talked to him and said I'd be interested in helping, and so I started working with that group and worked some high school in Michigan, and then small college in Michigan. And then after I got married, we moved out here. I coached at Brown for 95 and 96. We were the Ivy League champions in 96. And then I moved on to Northeastern for 2 years, and we had our son, and so I went back to coaching high school. I coached high school in Medway, Massachusetts for 9 years, and I was working for a bank, and found an opportunity to get back into the coaching thing, and I went back to Brown University, and I was there for 12 years, and at the end of that, I had applied to Suffolk University, and all things happened for a reason, and now I'm the head volleyball coach at Suffolk.
Absolutely. And with that being said, you talked about all the different levels of volleyball that you've coached at, and I have to imagine that there are some differences between how you maybe would run a practice at a Division 1 level like Brown, at a Division 3 level like Suffolk, and even at a high school level like we were at Medway. Like there are very different dynamics to both, whether it be in recruiting, whether it be in the practices, as I said, even just the games itself and managing the games itself. Could you maybe touch on a couple different things that there may be some slight differences that maybe people wouldn't know between those levels?
Sure. When I was at Medway, and even when I was at Trenton in Michigan, those were both high-level volleyball programs before I went there. So, keeping them on the high level was more of a challenge than, like they say, it's harder to stay on top of the mountain than it is to get to the top of the mountain. And so the commitment level for Trenton and Medway both was exceptionally high. And so, you could treat them more like a college program than, a lot of high school programs around here. You expect more from them. And, the thing at Medway when I got there was on time is late. So, if practice is at 4 o'clock and you're not dressed and ready to go at 3:45, then you're late. That was something that was established before I got there, long before I got there. And, it made it easy to work with that group. Obviously, Brown University being Division 1, it is, you're being in the Ivy League. Ivy League is as close to Division 3 and Division 1 as you can be, because there are no athletic scholarships, there are no academic scholarships. So you are out there recruiting Division 1 athletes to play a Division 1 schedule, and they have to, pay, they got to pay the full boat. So when I interviewed with Kerry, that was one of the things I think that made sense to him, is the fact that, me recruiting Division 3 or I'm not Division 3, for Ivy League for 12 years, it was going to make it a little easier for me to be able to transition from Division 1 to Division 3. Recruiting in the Ivy League, you like I said, you recruit the kids that have, they got the academics and they want to be at school but you also have to play against, Ohio State, San Diego State. So it was, it was a challenge, and it was a challenge that I loved. I loved my entire time in the Ivy League. And, but the transition to Suffolk, I think it made it a little easier for me than for a lot of people, because I had the college recruiting experience without being able to offer a full ride scholarship and that. Plus the connections throughout the country for being able to recruit the entire country. I have a lot of connections, so it made it a little bit easier for me also.
Yeah, and I definitely think that having those connection is definitely big in any sort of way. But I want you to take me through last season. For those that weren't familiar, last season was a historic year for the Rams volleyball program, posting a program record 20-12 a tenure, and that was the highest of win count victory in the program's history. It posted its best conference record at 9-3. It hosted its first playoff games since 2005. I just want to get from you, take me through that overall season in general, like starting from the beginning. Did you know that this was going to be a good squad? Did you know that this was going to be a good roster to work with? Did you have the expectations of maybe hosting that playoff game again for the first time in since 2005?
Well, my first year, I was not able to recruit. So I was hired about 3 weeks before the season started. So we were kind of piecing together with what we had. And it was a good group of kids, and we were able to, get some stuff done the first year. We started out real slow because we had some injuries, and the transition from, the former administration to what we were doing, we do things a little bit differently, and until they figured out how we were going to do it, it was going to be a problem. We started out slow, but we ended on a very fast note with that group. That being said, then we went out and we really, hit the bricks and did some recruiting, and we got kids from all over the country. We ended up getting, Harmony Johnson, who was from Southern California. That was a pickup through a contact of mine when I was recruiting at Brown. And then, Kensley Bell, also another kid from outside the region, another, contact of mine that goes back 30 years of coaching. And then, Emerson and Jordan and Michelle, all of them also, contacts of mine that I've known through club coaching for quite a while. So I was able to get a really, really good group of freshmen that came in, and with a great core of kids returning and adding this freshman group to them, I thought we would be pretty good. I wasn't aware that they were going to be as good as they were. In the 2 years that I've been at Suffolk, now, of course, I'm going to jinx myself by saying this, we have never lost a 5-set match. So the girls know if we get to the 5th set, we're going to win. It's over. And, we did that several times this year. We did it several times last year. And I'm not exactly sure what it is with them, but, most college and any volleyball team really, they get out on the floor in game 5, and it's just they're afraid to make mistakes. Our kids get out on the floor in game 5, and it's like, okay, we got about 10 minutes until we're going to win this match, and then it's going to be over. So I'm not exactly sure what it is that does to them. I'd like to say it's all me, but it's not. It's the way they approach it when they get out on the floor, and we'll lose the first 2 games, win the 3rd game, and then we'll get into the huddle, and the girls are like, okay, we got this. We'll go 5 games, and this will be over. And it happens more often than not. Actually, it happens all the time right now. So, but it was a combination of older players with some younger players that played at a very high level before they got here, and it worked. It seemed like anything we tried out there would work. I mean, we had our clunkers. I would say we probably only lost 1 match we shouldn't have, and the kids all know that match. And it was, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. And but you're going to have those every once in a while. And fortunately for us, we only had 1, and we were able to host the playoff game and win that. And then, it was the Johnson and Wales factor. And, we played them tough, but, they're an excellent program, and, that's what we strive to be. So every time we play them, we learn a little bit more to the next time we have to play them.
Absolutely. You talk about the 5-set match that you've gone through the past season. And correct me if I'm wrong, one of them was for the, not clinching game almost, but it cemented the program record, a 3-2 victory over St. Joseph's of Maine, the last game of the season. And because you won that game, you were able to host that home playoff game. You cemented the best conference finish since 1996. And you also secured that 19th program win, and eventually 20 when you won your first opening match. What was your feelings and emotions going through that final regular season game where you walked into it, you had a tri-meet against Simmons and St. Joseph's of Maine, and you had an opportunity to set those records that day? What was your emotions maybe that day, knowing it was the end of the season and you had potentially a great moment upon you?
Well, the Simmons match, we were not very pleased with the way we played. We played them much tougher the year before, and we'd actually beaten them. And this year, they'd gotten their outside hitter back, but we didn't play the way we wanted to. And I think that kind of ticked the girls off. And then when we played St. Joseph's, we owed them from the year before. They struggled a little bit the year before, and they caught us on a downswing, and they laid it on us pretty good, and some of our kids I think remembered that. But they knew if they could just get to the fifth game, they were going to be okay. And we were it was an up and down match for us. We played great at times, we played bad at times, but in the end, they have a they have a talent for stealing matches at the very end of game 5. They did it 2 years ago up at Norwich when we were down 14-11 in the fifth game, and scored the next 5 points to steal that one. And they did it to Western New England like just a couple weeks before that. So like I said, they're very comfortable playing in game 5, but lack of hair here probably has a lot to do with the fact that they just don't want to get it done in 3 and let's go home. Let's give everybody a show. So
I mean, there's nothing wrong with playing longer, I think that might be something that's enjoyable for many of the players and maybe even the fans as well. But finishing off a great tenure in the Great Northeast Athletic Conference, setting that program best, hosting a home playoff game, the Suffolk Athletic Department transitions to a new conference, the CCC, and I wanted to hear from you and what you hopes and maybe expectations coming into the CCC are. Still a lot of great programs. Endicott having won their last conference championship, being a great program itself. What are you looking forward to as when we do get back to the court for the CCC?
Well, I mean, different challenges. It's, we do play some of the Tri-C-Mat teams. We've played Gordon the last couple of years, and it hasn't gone quite the way we wanted it to. We played Western New England last year. We've played Curry. We've scrimmaged Endicott. We played Endicott. It was a pretty good little match when we played, but of course it's not referees, it's not uniforms, it's not with the home crowds and all that kind of stuff. So we just want to go out and just play the best that we can, and let everybody know that yeah, we're new to your conference, but we can still play a little bit. So that being said, we respect every team that's in the conference, top to bottom, and it's going to be a new challenge for us. And we're very much looking forward to competing in the Commonwealth Coast Conference. Great teams, great coaches. So it'll be, we're going to have our hands full every night, let's just say.
And I think that uptick in competition is definitely beneficial to every team, rather not just the teams at the top per se. But before we wrap up here, I wanted to get one more reflection from you on that Gneck season and that final season. What do you think, obviously picking out any of those moments that were great across the whole season? You had a lot of individual players pick up many individual accolades. What do you think was something that gave you the most pride of, whether it be seeing the team succeed overall, whether it be seeing those individual players recognized? What do you think is something that you'll take from that one season?
I guess I'll say that, and every one of the girls would tell you that, we had some kids that got some individual accolades, along the way. Harmony was, rookie of the week 3 or 4 times. And, Sarah made played in the All New England Senior All-Star game. And, Harmony and Hannah made All Gneck and that. But I would say all of them would trade that in to just be able to win that next match. And that was the thing with this group of kids, is like, it didn't seem to matter what happened, whether we won, whether we lost, there were no issues. And, quite frankly, a couple years ago, there were a lot of issues, whether they won or they lost. And the culture change, the fact that these older kids have like grabbed these younger kids and have like righted, I wouldn't say anything that's I have to do with it, but it's like they wanted to be better. They wanted to be better than they were, and they knew what it was going to take, and they just needed someone to push them to make sure that it was something that that got done. And the younger kids being, some of the younger kids being in leadership roles, it's very intimidating for a freshman to come in and set a bunch of juniors and seniors and run the entire offense. And both Harmony and Kensley had to do that throughout the year, and that's a tough thing to do. And there was never a doubt when either one of them was setting who was in control of what was going on out on the floor. And yes, I'm the youngest player out here on the floor, but I'm the one that's in charge of all this. And the upperclassmen recognizing, okay, this is what has to happen. And it's like, yes, I'm a junior. Yes, I'm a senior, but this is what we want for us. And last year, our team slogan on the back of their warm-up t-shirt was a capital W and E. So for we over me. So, and they all took that to heart, and that's all I ask of them. If we went 0-31 last year with the way those kids played and hung in together, I'm okay with that. And it's like, these kids are, it's Division III volleyball. They are very competitive in their Division III volleyball. These kids are not going to be going and playing on the national team. They all know that. But it means something to them. But they also have fun, and they know they're here to go to school. And it's just the fact that they all came together, and it wasn't just the 6 that were out on the floor. It was 1 through 17 on the roster. They were all together. And it was like, if there were 6 players on the floor, we had 11 players all helping them from the sidelines. And it, plus the addition of our, like my assistant coach, Sarah and Casey, that kind of, helped along with everything. Because they're, I'm a little bit older than they are. And Casey and Sarah are a little bit closer to their age, and they just got done playing. And, half of these kids have played against Casey when she was playing over at Emmanuel. So it made for just a very nice season. And, we would have liked to have maybe gotten into the finals, but, losing to Jay Wu is not disrespectful. It was, they did everything that we wanted them to do. And it was, we actually played a match in the middle of the season where we had like 7 kids on the bench that couldn't play. And so we, played with the kids we had. We went out there and blew the other team out of the water. It was just, it didn't matter who was out there. They took care of business.
Absolutely. And I look forward to more of those seasons as we go on, for when we do go to the CCC and we do get back to the floor. Coach Blanchard, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Ram Nation, if you liked what you heard today on the Suffolk Sounds podcast, be sure to visit our website, GoSuffolkRams.com. That's GoSuffOok.com to find out all you need to know about Suffolk athletics. When you're there, be sure to follow the Rams on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the same name for an insider's look. Don't forget to subscribe, like, rate us, and leave a review on whatever platform you're listening to the Suffolk Athletics official show. Send in your questions. From who would you like to hear from, whether it be a player or a coach. We'll be sure to bring something new to every single show. In fact, be sure to tune in to our next episode when we talk to Suffolk's head women's golf coach, Jay Parker. Until then, I'm Cam Brennan, everybody. Talk to you soon, Ram Nation. This has been Suffolk Sounds. Don't forget to subscribe, like, rate, and review however you listen to your podcast.